over the past 19 years of SML on YouTube, we have seen a ton of characters come and go. Some became fan favorites, and others, yeah, they definitely stuck around a little longer than they should have. And one of those characters that perfectly falls into that category is Lewis. Now, if you don't already know who Lewis is, he's basically the human puppet version of Luigi, who is Marvin's twin brother. Lewis would be first introduced in SML movie Marvin's Brother, where he would randomly send a letter to Marvin telling him that he was coming over, which prompted Marvin to try to impress Lewis like usual by making him think that he's a literal astronaut doctor.
Okay, Marvin, you got this. Hello?
Marvin, my brother, it's me, Lewis.
Hi, Lewis. Sorry it took me so long to answer the door. I was too busy doing some doctor's appointments up in space because I'm an astronaut doctor.
Now, right off the bat, Lewis seemed really off from the beginning. And this was because he quite literally said, "It's a me, Lewis," which is very clearly a Nintendo reference. And he wasn't done. As for the rest of the video, Lewis would keep making so many Nintendo references over and over.
Boo! Cocky!
Ghost!
Wait, are you trying to suck me through the sheets like my last uncle?
No, god damn it, Marvin! Well, there it is. He fucked us. He just fucked us right there. They have all the evidence they need in one big heaping pile of shit so they can sue us to death, Marvin! There you go.
Clearly, Logan took a huge risk by making this video. However, Lewis's running gag, being that he references Nintendo, wasn't a good reintroduction to the fans, which led a lot of the fans to not like this video or Lewis as a character. This is just sad. You can't reference Mario because of what Nintendo did to us. But oh no, Lewis won't stop referencing the games. Isn't it funny? We know, Logan. You're still mad Nintendo forced you to stop using Mario. Newsflash, it ain't funny. Now, while the initial impression of Lewis was nowhere near good at all, Logan decided to still use Lewis in a few more videos. And unfortunately, not much would change. Lewis would essentially be a walking stereotype of Nintendo, constantly making references in every video that he's been in, which obviously shows that Lewis was very well overstaying his welcome. However, thankfully as of recently, we haven't seen Lewis appear in videos. However, knowing SML, Lewis isn't gone forever, and will probably come back eventually. But the walking stereotype characters aren't over yet, as Nigel is another character that, especially as of recently, has been really overstaying his welcome. Now, let me quickly introduce you to Nigel. He is the identical twin brother of Junior, who has ugly yellow buck teeth, and is from the UK. We would initially see Nigel introduced in SML movie Junior's Twin, where Braxton reveals to Junior that he is a twin that Braxton shipped to the UK when they were born, so he didn't have to pay more child support. And after that crazy revolution, Braxton reveals that Nigel was visiting for a week.
Hello?
Would you look at it? If it isn't my twin brother Junior. How's it going, bruv?
Oh, well, Dad said my twin brother was coming and I've never met you before, so what's your name?
Name's Nigel, but not like the Thornberries.
Right off the bat, Nigel is clearly a walking stereotype of a person from the UK, but thankfully, this would be his only appearance in SML, right? Well, unfortunately, it wasn't, as around 3 years later, Nigel would return to SML and become Penelope's new boyfriend in SML movie The Pen Pal Problem, and would also officially move to the US and live in Junior's house.
Okay, why are you at my house?
I'm here to meet your daughter, Penelope.
Wait, but you're not 70, nor are you African.
Well, I am African. From the waist down.
Now at this point, Nigel wasn't just overstaying his welcome on the channel, but also overstaying his welcome at Junior's house. And bro was never invited to live at Junior's house, and quite literally welcomed himself into the home just because he's dating Penelope. And unfortunately, after this video, we would see Nigel appear a few more times. But thankfully, this character hopefully came to an end for good recently in SML movie Junior's Scary Girlfriend, where we see Penelope finally realize how weird Nigel is and finally break up with him for good.
No, it means I don't want to be your girlfriend anymore and I don't want you to be my boyfriend.
Oh, all right. Is it because of the hot dog water?
I mean, that's part of it, yeah.
Clearly, Nigel was never welcomed back into SML, and should have actually stayed as a one-time character. And Logan bringing him back was easily a mistake, as fans started to dislike him because of this, along with how offensive he was as a character. Very unfunny and offensive too. Great, another offensive stereotype on British people. For fuck's sake, Logan, the Queen has died recently. Show some respect and stop this nonsense. However, these British characters are starting to have a thing for overstaying their welcome, as Harry is another great example of a character who for sure overstayed his welcome. However, the reason for this is a bit more understandable. Now, Harry was a super smart British kid that transferred to YU Elementary School back in 2020, and the reason why he transferred was due to Poopy being absent from SML at the time, and Logan wanted to replace Cody in the meantime until Poopy came back. We first saw Harry's introduction in SML movie The Redo Button, where right off the bat, Harry would give a horrible impression by literally throwing Cody on FaceTime off his desk just so he can sit there.
Alright, class, and we also have a brand new foreign exchange student who came all the way from London, and his name's Harry. Come on in, Harry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Harry.
Hey, you can't take Cody's seat.
Yeah, this is my seat.
Not anymore, it's not.
What the heck?
Clearly, this gave some mean first impressions of Harry. But of course, Harry would overstay his welcome a lot, as he would appear dozens of times in SML videos over the course of 2020, until Poopy would ultimately return. And Harry's final appearance would be in SML movie Cody Meets Harry, where Cody ends up sabotaging Harry's project in order for Cody to be deemed the smartest again, and end Harry's reign for good.
Alright, I've done it. I've invented the stupid ray. Now, tomorrow at school, whenever I shoot Harry with this, he'll be too stupid to show his invention. I just have to make sure I go before him.
Now, it's definitely good that Harry actually left after Cody came back. However, let me actually explain why Harry is considered a character that overstayed his welcome. Obviously, he was smart and all, however, Harry simply lacked a personality, and the only real traits about him were that he was British and smart, while Cody, on the other hand, is smart, but also gay, dates a doll, and overall has an actual sense of humor. And this is one key reason why fans don't really like Harry, and feel like he definitely overstayed his welcome in SML longer than he should have. I personally don't hate him, I just found him hella boring and uninteresting. Everyone else, on the other hand, hated the fact that he was a temporary replacement for Cody since Poopy was quarantined, and he was nowhere near as funny as Cody. He had no personality. He's just Cody's replacement with no depth at all. And his voice is just terrible. And not only is the whole Harry situation talked about by fans, but it also extends over to the SML crew. As in 2024, Logan started theorizing that Poopy might have destroyed the Harry puppet so that Logan would never be able to replace him again.
I think Pablo destroyed the puppet. I think Pablo took it. I've said this to his face, I think, you know, obviously I think it's a joke, but I'm starting to believe it because things just don't go missing.
Now, obviously, it was never truly known if Poopy destroyed him. However, as of recently, Logan actually did get a new Harry puppet, which means that unfortunately, he can return at any time. So we just have to hope that Poopy destroys the puppet again, and then we'll be good. But while Harry was a really bad 2020 replacement for Cody, we would also see Brooklyn Guy be replaced in 2020. However, it wasn't by Simmons. It would actually be by two new characters that were introduced at the same time, named Officer Top and Bottom. Now, these characters were an officer duo that were on the zesty side, and they would usually make cringe jokes all the time, and straight up suck at being actual officers. And we would see this off the bat in their first appearance, which was in SML movie Jeffy's Big Mess.
Hi there, young fella. Did you call 911? Sorry I'm late. I was all tied up, stripped down.
Yeah, when I came in here, I saw that my daddy was a skeleton.
Oh no! This is the crime scene, y'all. I better call for backup. Officer Top!
What's up, Officer Bottom?
This man's all bones. Just like we like them.
Ooh, you know how many bones are in the human body?
How many?
One more if you keep looking that good. Hey!
Yeah, these characters were not it, and unfortunately, they would keep appearing throughout the course of Poopy's absence from SML. And they were clearly overstaying their welcome due to the fact that they were quite literally a copy and paste every video. What I mean by this is that they would use the exact same jokes in every single video that they were in, which consisted of them just saying, "Hey!" and hitting on each other the entire time with dirty jokes. I'm seriously wondering why Simmons, or even Officer Goodman, weren't the replacements for Brooklyn Guy, as both of them weren't voiced by Poobie, and they are overall way better characters compared to Officers Top and Bottom. However, thankfully after SML movie Bad Jeffy, we would never see this duo appear again, and it's probably a good thing. But before we move on, let's throw in a little fun fact about these two characters. If you didn't already know, Adriana was the one who actually made these two puppets, and originally they were normal Melissa and Doug puppets. However, Adriana would put a whole bunch of makeup on them to make them look like Officers Top and Bottom, which overall is definitely an interesting fact. Now obviously, these past few characters have clearly been temporary due to Poopy's absence. However, all of the Huckardoos unfortunately are not temporary characters, and are recurring permanent characters who have for sure overstayed their welcome by now. As we all know, the Huckardoos are probably some of the worst characters in modern SML, and there's multiple reasons as to why. However, before we dive into that, let's cover their introduction, which was in SML movie The Huckardoos, where it's revealed that the Huckardoos are Marvin's annoying neighbors from across the street.
What can I do for you, neighbor?
Listen, I didn't get any sleep last night and I'm trying to take a nap, and your lawnmower's just so goddamn loud. So can you please just not mow your lawn today?
No can do, neighbor. See, I've won Yard of the Year for 10 years in a row. I'm trying to go for 11, and nothing's gonna stop me from doing that.
Now, not only did we meet Hank Huckardoo, but we also met his unloyal bop wife, Suzanne, who actually stated having a crush on Marvin, and along with Suzanne, we meet their two kids, Timmy Huckardoo and Susie Huckardoo. And for the rest of the video, we would get a small taste of how annoying this family is in multiple different ways. And of course, that led all the fans to hate on this video instantly. April 16th, 2023, the day where we would have some of the worst characters in SML. The Huckardoos were so lame, but in typical Logan style, he would keep having the Huckardoos in videos even though the fans hated them from the beginning. And this would lead us to often seeing different Huckardoo members in videos. What I mean by this is that we would sometimes only see Hank or Suzanne in videos, along with Timmy a year after his introduction, becoming gay and Cody's new best friend, or possibly real boyfriend, as they would often do some of the nastiest things together, which ultimately led to the worst video in SML history, which of course is SML movie Cody's Hot Dog Restaurant.
Timmy, not again! Get that out of there. Wow, okay. What? No way, not another one. Okay, alright, hold on, let me get it.
Now, even just this one video shows how horrible of an impact this family has on SML, as they quite literally have given Logan age restrictions, along with mass hate from fans. But it's not only Timmy who's a vibe kill in these videos, as Suzanne is basically on the same level as Timmy, as in 95% of her appearances, she is literally seen cheating on Hank with multiple men in the SML universe, and her whole behavior has led us to get multiple unbearable SML videos, such as SML movie Marvin the Pool Boy, and SML movie Chef Pee-Pee the Father. And in both of these videos, we see Suzanne manipulate and make Marvin and Chef Pee-Pee's lives horrible, leading them to do absurd things.
Oh, buddy, where you going?
Leave me alone, Marvin. I'm going to Lithuania. I'm leaving this fucking country.
But why?
Because you set me up. You know what the hell you did? You invited that trifling asshole over there trying to get some money out of a nigga. You know I'm broke as hell. You know I don't get paid number 20 cent, nigga.
So yeah, these characters are clearly the definition of SML characters you can't stand, and easily overstate their welcome in SML, which is why new fans hate them religiously to this day, with fans even making parodies of the family meeting the 12 gauge, which is just insane. But now that we got all of those stupid characters out of the way, let's talk about a more interesting character who can honestly be deemed as a character who overstayed their welcome, and that character is Jeffy. And you may be asking, how did Jeffy overstay his welcome, if he is one of the main characters in SML to this day, along with Logan's main source of income? Well, the reason actually dates all the way back to 2016, when Jeffy was first introduced in SML movie Mario the Babysitter. Basically, Jeffy was actually supposed to be a one-time character in the SML universe, which Logan himself would actually reveal.
But Jeffy was honestly, like, that was just supposed to be his one appearance for like a while. Like, it was just going to be a one-take appearance. Yeah.
Now, obviously, Logan stated that the fans loved Jeffy, which probably led you all to asks the question on how Jeffy overstayed his welcome if fans loved him so much. Well, this wouldn't last forever. This is due to the fact that after Mario the Babysitter, Jeffy would start appearing in way more videos and officially dethrone Junior from being the top dog main character. And of course, Jeffy's mass appearances led Logan to absolutely blow up and get way more popular on YouTube. But eventually, Jeffy would go from simply being a dumb kid to being flat out annoying, which caused a lot of the fans, especially the OG ones, to start absolutely despising Jeffy, along with despising Jeffy fans, which mainly consisted of little kids who were not there for SML's golden/classic era. Now, this massive hate for Jeffy led Logan to get demonetized, age restricted, and lose 2 channels, along with landing a spot on Good Morning America, which clearly isn't good at all. However, Logan never actually took any action on it. Obviously, he would occasionally claim on Chili Vlogs that he would destroy Jeffy if he hit some goal, but obviously, he would never stick to his promise. Now, all of these aspects put together is why Jeffy overstayed his welcome to some of Logan's fan base, not all. And this reason is why this entry is a bit more on the weird side, as not everyone thinks this, and it's essentially a split decision. However, nowadays, Jeffy honestly isn't even a bad character due to the fact that he simply rage baits Marvin in every video, and not to mention, he appears way less, even in videos that feature his name in the title at times. So overall, this entry made way more sense in 2017 to 2019, but it's still important to add overall. However, things are getting even weirder with our next character who overstayed their welcome, which is your boy Dougie. Now, before you start rushing to the comments to bash on me, no, I am not talking about Black Yoshi. I'm just talking about the SML merch puppet version of Black Yoshi, which is named Dougie. Now, the reason why I separate the puppet and the plush version, even though they're technically canonically the same character, is because they are basically 2 different characters. What I mean by this is ever since Dougie got reintroduced to SML as a puppet, he didn't act like the typical guy that we used to know, and instead, he would just be a whiny dinosaur who begs for everything even more than he used to.
Alright, that's enough.
Can you put a little bit more in there?
Well, I don't want to overflow it.
Well, I want you to do what Olive Garden does when they put the cheese on the salad. I'll tell you when to stop.
Oh, okay.
Now, off the bat, it's clear that Dougie's voice in general sounds way more whiny, and it's safe to say that people have clearly noticed right away. This video would have been a 10 out of 10 if this was the same character like before. And unfortunately, this would continue, as Dougie would officially return to SML as a recurring character. And in basically every video that he's in, he's usually whining for everything. And unlike back then, Dougie no longer goes to extreme lengths to get something, and usually does the bare minimum, or flat out nothing at times. And eventually, fans would just fully come to the conclusion that Dougie is not the same anymore. And the fans even let nostalgia get the best of them at times. I missed when Black Yoshi said folk, had a gun, and was more assertive. This new one is way too dependent on Marvin. However, Dougie wasn't the only character who overstayed their new human character self-welcome, as Rose, especially in recent times, has heavily deteriorated, and has become one of the absolute worst characters that SML has ever seen, and comes very close to beating the Huckardoos in that scale. Now, let's start with a small history lesson, and talk about Rose's backstory and old self. As we all know, Rose, formerly known as Rosalina, was primarily known as Mario's girlfriend, and honestly wasn't a bad character back then, and she wouldn't even add much to the video most of the time. And to add even further to this, throughout 2018 to 2019, Rosalina would rarely even appear in videos due to Chili not wanting Elena in the house due to Logan's personal drama. So it's clear back then, Rosalina was an average character and by no means annoying. However, back in 2021, after the cease and desist, we would see the new and not so improved Rose be introduced to SML in her puppet form. And here's when we really see her downfall begin, as over time she would start becoming way more annoying, such as not believing Marvin, siding with Jeffy for the most ridiculous things, and the worst yet, having a ton of exes revealed in modern times. And quite frankly, eventually people started absolutely despising Rose and dreading every single time she was in a video. I really wish they would take Rose back to her early self. Of all of the modern characters, she's definitely became the worst from her debut. The whole point of her was to be better than Peach, and now she's only slightly better. Everybody hates Rose.
I'm not gonna get mad for this fucking bitch. Damn it, Rose. I fucking hate this bitch.
It's even gotten to the point where Brooklyn Guy and Jeffy hate on Rose and get annoyed at her. And the funny part is that Marvin doesn't even bother to stop them or say anything about it because it's true. Clearly, Rose had her ugly downfall throughout these past few years. But Jonathan, on the other hand, was a new character that overstayed their welcome a lot, for many reasons. Jonathan is the brother of Brooklyn Guy, and he is known in the SML universe for being a nerdy, top-tier gooner, who has a huge obsession for Karen and is the favorite son of Babs. After Jonathan's first appearance in SML movie Jeffy's Broken Laptop, we would start seeing Jonathan become a recurring character. However, in every video he's in, he's either being a huge gooner or a nerd. And quite frankly, things got real repetitive at one point, as this is what we would see every time he appears.
Don't ever leave me. You know Daddy takes really good care of you. I'll give those eye-holes a rest. I'll just read one of my nudie mags.
And all of these repetitive jokes from Jonathan clearly led fans to dislike him, which just proves even more that bro overstayed his welcome in SML just a bit too much. So annoying. Why do people hate Jonathan? 'Cause he's annoying. Clearly, all of these SML characters should have stayed as one-time characters, but unfortunately, it's too late for that. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the video on screen. I'm sure you'll love it. Also, subscribe.